I woke up as the true young master in a novel, just as he was about to jump off a hospital rooftop. While his own family was overseas celebrating the fake young master's birthday, he had been driven to complete despair. Instead of jumping, I headed back to the Nan family mansion, planning to kill myself in the living room just to disgust them. Maybe finding my body there would haunt them forever. But before I could, my second sister, Nan Shooting, suddenly came home. She sneered, pulling another stunt to get attention. You're pathetic. I walked over and slapped her hard across the face. Shut up. Then, right in front of her, I drove the knife into my chest. Earlier, when I first arrived in this world, I had stood on the hospital rooftop as the wind blew past me. A flood of memories rushed into my mind. I had become Nan Yi, the real young master of the Nan family, who had only been found and brought home 2 years earlier. Although he was their biological son, his parents didn't love him, his sisters didn't care about him, and even his fiancée despised him. Instead, everyone adored the fake young master, Wei Dong. On his birthday, the entire family took Wei Dong on an overseas vacation, leaving Nan Yi alone at home. Even after injuring his hand, no one cared enough to take him to the hospital. Sitting there by himself, he saw Wei Dong happily posting photos from their trip online, and the last bit of hope he had finally shattered. He climbed onto the rooftop, ready to end it all. As I finished sorting through those memories and turned to leave, a girl's anxious voice stopped me. What are you doing? It's dangerous up there. Please come down. I looked back to see a young woman cautiously approaching me. No matter how hard life gets, you can work through it. Please don't do this. I simply jumped back onto the safe side of the roof and landed on the ground. Relax, I was just bored. Then I walked away, leaving her standing there completely stunned. After taking a taxi back to the Nan residence, I went into the kitchen, picked a knife that felt comfortable in my hand, and stood in the middle of the living room. I hoped that when they finally found my body a few days later, it would disgust and terrify every single one of them. Since I'd inherited the original owner's memories, I couldn't help but hate this family too. If I died somewhere else, they'd probably forget me within a few years. But if I died inside the Nan mansion, they'd never erase the memory. Nan Yi died here. They drove him to his death. I closed my eyes and had just started cutting my wrist when a mocking voice interrupted me. Nan Yi, are you seriously pulling this stunt again just for attention? I opened my eyes and recognized the beautiful woman from my memories. Nan Shooting. Her expression darkened. So you're finally done pretending? Why aren't you celebrating Wei Dong's birthday? I shrugged. None of your business. She folded her arms. I came back to deal with something, and to keep an eye on you. I can't let you cause trouble and ruin Adong's mood. She glanced at the blood running down my wrist and laughed coldly. How disgusting. You think hurting yourself will make mom and dad come? Home? You just want to ruin Adong's birthday. I stepped forward and slapped her across the face with all my strength. I said shut up. She froze, unable to believe I'd actually hit her. After all, the original Nan Yi had always been timid, submissive, and desperate to please them. Looking straight into her eyes, I said, remember this. I've never done anything to hurt Wei Dong. Then I drove the knife straight into my own chest. As I collapsed to the floor, the last thing I heard was Nan Shooting, screaming in horror. When I opened my eyes again, all I saw was the white hospital ceiling. I couldn't help but sigh. I'd been so focused on making a dramatic final scene that I'd forgotten to aim properly. I'd wanted Nan Shooting to remember my words, to finally start questioning Wei Dong and drive a wedge between them. Instead, I'd stabbed myself in the wrong place. I failed to die. Turning my head, I saw Nan Shooting sitting beside the bed with bloodshot eyes staring at me. How are you feeling? I closed my eyes without answering, already thinking of a better way to die next time. This world bored me. It was nothing more than another cliche story where everyone spoiled the fake protagonist while treating the real one like garbage. The Nan family disgusted me. Rather than wasting time dealing with them, I'd rather end everything as soon as possible. Nan Shooting suddenly asked quietly, what did you mean by what you said before? Exactly what it sounded like. Don't tell me you can't understand plain language. She frowned. Dong isn't that kind of person. Then I guess I am, I interrupted her coldly and grabbed the glass from the bedside table, hurling it straight at her. She didn't dodge. It smashed against her forehead, leaving a cut that immediately began to bleed. Just then, a worried male voice came from the doorway. Second sister, are you okay? I looked over to see Wei Dong rushing in wearing an expensive tailored suit. He hurried to Nan Shooting's side, gently touching the wound on her forehead with tears in his eyes. Brother, if you're angry, hit me instead. Don't take it out on second sister. Fine. I picked up another cup and threw it at him too. This time it shattered harmlessly on the floor, missing everyone. Wei Dong instinctively hid behind Nan Shooting, who shielded him without thinking. At that moment, the eldest sister, Nan Jue, arrived and blocked the chaos in front of them. Looking around at the mess, she frowned furiously. Nan Yi, are you trying to start a rebellion? I smiled sarcastically. You're mistaken. I was just doing exactly what your precious little brother asked me to do. There are security cameras everywhere. Feel free to check them. Then Nan Ju glared at me. Then what was that suicide stunt about? Why today of all days? You deliberately picked Adong's birthday because you wanted to ruin everything, didn't you? I laughed. Whether I live or die has nothing to do with you. And don't flatter me. You really think I have the power to destroy the Nan family? Wei Dong suddenly lowered his head, his voice trembling with guilt. Brother, I know you've always blamed me for taking mom and dad and our sisters away from you. If you hate me, or want to take it out on me, that's fine. Even everything you've done to hurt me, I can forgive. But please don't hurt yourself. Mom and dad would be heartbroken. Nan Xue immediately wrapped an arm around him and looked at me coldly. Dong is too kind. Nan Yi is obviously doing all this for attention. He probably calculated the angle of the stab beforehand and even called an ambulance in advance. So he couldn't possibly die. Enough! Nan Shooting suddenly snapped. Everyone fell silent. She looked straight at Nan Jue and said firmly, if I hadn't happened to come home today, Nan Yi would already be dead. Stop saying things that'll push him even further. Who jokes around with their own life? Nan Xue frowned. Shooting. Wei Dong tugged gently on her sleeve, blinking innocently. Second sister. What's wrong with you? Ignoring everyone else, Nan Shooting calmly announced, all of you should leave. The doctor said Nan Yi needs complete rest. Wei Dong had no choice but to leave with the others, but before walking out, he shot me a vicious glare. Nan Shooting happened to catch that look. The moment their eyes met, Wei Dong hurriedly changed back to his usual pitiful expression before quickly leaving the room. Nan Shooting remained standing there, replaying that brief expression over and over in her mind. She looked shocked, confused, and desperate to know the truth. I let out a cold laugh. You're all pathetic. You've been played by an outsider this entire time, manipulated into pointing your knives at your own flesh and blood. After arranging for someone to watch over me, Nan Shooting left with a troubled expression. The day I was discharged from the hospital, she personally came to pick me up. Whatever she discovered during her investigation, she was noticeably more patient with me than before. The moment we stepped through the front door of the Nan mansion, Father Nan shouted angrily, "Kneel!" I didn't even react. Before I could answer, Nan Shooting stepped in front of me. Dad, what are you talking about? Nan Yi just got out of the hospital. Nan Shui frowned and grabbed her arm. Shooting, Dad's angry. But Nan Shooting didn't move an inch. She stood firmly in front of me. Mother Nan held Wei Dong's arm and looked at her with disappointment. Ah, Dong has been getting cursed all over the internet because of Nan Yi. Wasn't everything online you're doing? Family scandal should stay inside. The family. Your suicide caused an enormous uproar, and now everyone is criticizing the Nan family, especially Ah Dong. The internet is flooded with insults toward him. Wei Dong lowered his head sadly. Brother, I know you've always hated me for taking Mom and Dad and our sisters away from you, but if you're angry, take it out on me alone. Posting everything online is hurting the company. If that's not enough, he bit his lip. I'll kneel and apologize to you if I have to. As he spoke, he really started lowering himself to the floor. Mother Nan hurriedly stopped him and pulled him into her arms, gently stroking his head. Nan Shooting's brows tightened. Dad, it couldn't have been Nan Yi. He was in the hospital the whole time. He had neither the opportunity nor the money to buy trending topics. Online, he's your biological son. You brought him home only to let him live like this? Father Nan's face darkened. Nan Shooting, have you completely lost your mind? She looked directly at him without backing down. Nan Yi is my younger brother. I'll protect him. Dad, big sister, find out who really posted everything online before accusing him. With that, she grabbed my wrist and led me upstairs, never once looking back at the people downstairs. Once we reached my bedroom, I pulled my hand away. You finally used your brain for once, but it's pointless. I don't need your protection anymore. The one who truly needed saving was the original Nan Yi, and he'd already died. At 4 in the morning, I decided to try killing myself again. If I died before sunrise, the Nan family would wake up to my corpse, and the public outrage online would only grow stronger. It would deal another heavy blow to the Nan group. I casually walked into the kitchen, picked another knife, and even turned on my phone's flashlight to carefully locate my heart this time. I wasn't going to miss again. Just as I raised the knife, the living room light suddenly flicked on. Someone rushed over, snatched the knife from my hand, and threw it across the room. After my eyes adjusted to the light, I saw Nan Jue standing in front of me, staring silently at the knife on the floor with a complicated expression. Turning my head, I saw Nan Shating beside her, her face completely pale. I clicked my tongue. You two really won't leave me alone. Looking at Nan Shay, I smiled faintly. I thought you hated me, so why stop me? She hesitated before lowering her head. I may not like you, but you're still my little brother. For the first time, she finally understood that none of my suicide attempts had been acts for attention. I really wanted to die. I laughed. You sisters are hilarious. I turned and walked upstairs. Nan Shooting silently followed behind me. Only after I entered my room did she finally relax. Then she turned toward Nan Shay and quietly asked, do you believe the evidence I showed you now? Nan Yi has always been innocent. Lying on my bed, I glanced around the room. Nan Shooting had already removed every object that could possibly be used to hurt myself. For several days, I couldn't find a single opportunity to die. Father Nan eventually discovered that the online scandal hadn't been my doing. Seeing both of his daughters suddenly caring so much about me, he stopped making things difficult as well. Mother Nan and Wei Dong, meanwhile, simply acted as if I didn't exist, busily preparing for something without acknowledging me at all. 2 weeks later, I was forced onto a luxury cruise ship. Only then did I learn it was Wei Dong's engagement party with Liu Ruyan. Nan Shuting insisted on bringing me because she didn't dare let me out of her sight, but standing on a ship in the middle of the ocean only made things easier for me. If I jumped into the sea, the chances of being rescued would be much lower. I'd ruin the engagement party too. That sounded like a pretty good deal. Meanwhile, public opinion online had completely flipped again. Rumors spread that I had returned to the Nan family only for their fortune, that I desperately tried to drive Wei Dong away, and when my plans failed, I'd faked a suicide attempt to gain sympathy. Everyone praised Wei Dong for staying strong while calling me vicious, and praising the Nan family for being so kind. I knew exactly who was behind it all. Wei Dong had always wanted to enter the entertainment industry. This entire scandal was nothing more than a publicity campaign. First make himself the victim, then rise as the hero, building fame and future fans before his debut. This engagement party wasn't just an engagement, it was his stage. I was dragged in front of the cameras, and Wei Dong grabbed my hand, pretending we were close brothers. I gave him exactly what he deserved. I shook his hand off and rolled my eyes at him. Around us, the guests whispered without bothering to hide it. So that's the guy who staged the suicide? I used to think no one would joke with their own life. Looks like he should have gone through with it. What a terrible attitude. Poor Ah Dong has to put up with a brother like him. I ignored them and quietly slipped away while Nan Shooting and Nan Shui were busy greeting the guests. Soon I found myself standing alone on the deck, staring out at the endless sea. I sighed softly. Jumping into the ocean wasn't my first choice. I never liked the sea, but then I thought about the original Nan Yi. He probably wouldn't have wanted to be buried in the Nan family cemetery either. Letting his body drift away with the waves might actually be a better ending. Just as I was about to climb over the railing, someone grabbed my arm. I turned around and saw the young woman from the hospital rooftop. I knew it was you. You've got the wrong person, I replied. Can you let go? Instead, she tightened her grip. Back then, you really were trying to jump, weren't you? So what if I was? Mind your own business. She looked at me seriously. I can help you. I know everything online is fake. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been driven to this point. I can clear your name. No thanks. She bit her lip. Nan Yi, they aren't worth dying for. You can stay alive and make them pay for everything they've done. If I were the original Nan Yi, maybe I'd agree with her, but I wasn't him. I had simply appeared in this world by accident. I had no obligation and certainly no interest in wasting my time on revenge. Suddenly, a commotion broke out across the deck. Looking over, I saw Nan Suting and Nan Shui rushing outside, anxiously searching in every direction. After several seconds, they finally spotted me. My heart sank, but I put on a bright smile and waved sweetly. Big sister, second sister. The girl instinctively turned to look at them. In that brief moment of distraction, I shook off her hand, sprinted toward the opposite side of the deck, and leapt onto the railing in one smooth motion. Nan Yi! Nan Shooting screamed. I looked back. A crowd had already gathered. Cameras from the live broadcast were all pointed at me. Father Nan and Mother Nan looked grim, while Wei Dong stood beside his fiancée, Liu Ruyan, wearing a worried expression, but I still caught the slight smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Around me, people laughed. Here comes another pity act. I bet he doesn't have the guts to jump. Someone who really wants to die wouldn't keep looking back. His acting is awful. I really had intended to jump immediately, but after seeing the smug look on Wei Dong's face, I decided there was something everyone deserved to know first. The Nan family had always claimed that I was the son they'd lost years ago. They'd never told the public that their real child had been switched at birth, so nobody knew Wei Dong wasn't related to them by blood. Even though we were the same age, they forced me to tell everyone I was a year younger just to protect his image. What a joke. I smiled faintly. Before I die, there's one secret I want everyone to know. The crowd instantly fell silent. Wei Dong and I are the same age. Without another word, I jumped into the sea. I couldn't swim at all. It didn't take long before my vision blurred and consciousness faded. The last thing I heard was the sound of countless people diving into the water after me. When I woke up again, all I saw was another familiar white ceiling before blacking out once more. Through my fading awareness, I vaguely heard Nan Shooting's relieved voice. Thank goodness I hired a professional rescue team to stay hidden around the ship. Rich people really did think ahead. I honestly hadn't expected that. After I recovered, Nan Shooting assigned even more people to watch me. Nan Shui also started visiting me much more often. One day she said quietly, "The eldest daughter of the Shen family was the first person to jump in and save you. Our family will thank her properly." I glanced at her without expression. You know I wanted to die. I'm not grateful she saved me. After a long silence, Nan Jue suddenly asked, "The person who saved me a year ago, it was you, wasn't it? Not Wei Dong." I searched through the original Nan Yi's memories. A year earlier, the relationship with the family hadn't completely fallen apart yet, so he'd gone with them on a beach vacation. A huge wave had suddenly swept Nan Shui out to sea. Nan Yi had risked his own life to hold on to her until they were both carried back toward shore. While he went to find food for her afterward, Wei Dong conveniently appeared. Somehow, the credit for saving her became his. From then on, Nan Shui treated Wei Dong even better. I answered calmly, "Yeah, looking back, I should have just let the waves carry you away." The moment I finished speaking, Nan Shui broke down in tears. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." But her apology meant nothing. The person she owed it to was already dead. The original Nan Yi would never hear those words. 3 days after I woke up, Father Nan and Mother Nan finally came to visit. My two sisters had been guarding me constantly, but that day they both happened to be away. Mother Nan stood beside the bed with Wei Dong, who was crying pitifully in her arms. She looked at me calmly and said, "Nan Yi, you're my biological son, but I've raised Wei Dong for 18 years. You're both my children. Why can't you just get along?" Ever since I revealed before jumping that Wei Dong and I were the same age, people online had begun investigating the child swapping incident from 18 years ago. They found the village where the original Nan Yi grew up and uncovered the truth, that he'd been abused by his adoptive parents for years, barely had enough to eat, and had been forced to quit school early to work. Public opinion shifted once again, and now countless people sympathize with me while demanding Wei Dong be thrown out of the Nan family. Wei Dong lowered his head pitifully. "Brother, I only want to stay with Mom and Dad. Why can't you accept me? What happened back then wasn't my fault. You've already taken our sisters back. You've already won the public over. None of that matters. Even Sister Ruyan, I can give her back to you too. I don't want anything. I just want to stay with Mom and Dad and take care of them." Mother Nan immediately hugged him tighter. "Don't say things like that. I will never let you leave. You'll always be my son." Then she looked at me. "Nan Yi, everyone online is attacking Wei Dong now. He can't take it anymore. Both of you were wrong before, so this time you should go online and explain everything. After that, we'll all go on another overseas vacation together as a family. We're family. There's no need to keep fighting like this." I laughed coldly. "Family? The day you all flew overseas to celebrate Wei Dong's birthday and left me behind was the day I cut all ties with the Nan family. The only reason I'm still alive is because your daughters keep interfering and dragging me back every time I try to die. Everything online is true. Why would I clarify anything? I'd love nothing more than to watch Wei Dong drown in everyone's spit." "What did you just say?" Mother Nan flew into a rage and raised her hand to slap me. I moved first. With one sweep of my arm, I smashed everything on the bedside table onto the floor. Glass shattered with a deafening crash, startling her so badly that she stumbled backward. "You're insane, completely insane." She immediately shielded Wei Dong, covering his ears as if I were some dangerous animal. "Don't be scared, Ah Dong. Let's go. I'll handle everything online." She hurried out of the room with him. Father Nan let out a long sigh before leaving as well. "Get some rest. We'll be waiting for you at home. After all, you're still a member of the Nan family." Later that day, the Shen family's eldest daughter came to visit me. Around noon, I was staring absent-mindedly out the hospital window when I turned and saw her standing silently at the doorway. "Nan Yi, come in." She didn't move. Keeping her head lowered, she asked softly, "Can you stop trying to kill yourself? Your two sisters are on your side now. Sooner or later, your parents will realize who was right and who was wrong. If staying with the Nan family is unbearable, I can help you find another place to live. You can start over. They're not worth dying." 4. The Shen and Nan families had once been extremely close. Their mothers had even been pregnant at the same time, and Mother Nan had once suggested arranging a marriage between the two children. But later, the Shen family fell on hard times and moved away, and the two families gradually lost contact. So this girl, she had to be Shen Xinyi. What I couldn't understand was this. Mother Nan clearly favored Wei Dong. So why had Shen Xinyi gone so far out of her way to save and protect me? Why are you helping me? She was quiet for a long moment before answering. My mother told me before she passed away, blood ties can never truly be erased. When you were finally found 2 years ago, she learned the truth about what happened back then. She blamed herself. She said if she hadn't suggested the trip all those years ago, none of this would have happened. When she heard how you were being treated in the Nan family, she was heartbroken. Her health wouldn't allow her to visit you. But she was certain that one day the Nan family would regret everything. So before she died, she made me promise I'd take care of you. I nodded slowly. For the first time since arriving in this world, my emotions became complicated. If the original Nan Yi had waited just a little longer on that hospital rooftop, Shen Xinyi might have reached him in time. With her help, perhaps the two sisters would have eventually learned the truth just like they had now. Maybe they would have regretted everything. Maybe his life could have changed completely. But there was no maybe. I had arrived too late. By the time I entered this world, the real Nan Yi had already jumped. Without me, Shen Xinyi would have arrived one step too late. Wei Dong would have continued living as everyone's beloved son. The Nan family would have never regretted anything, and every truth buried over the past 2 years would have remained buried forever. Meanwhile, Nan Shuting and Nan Shui continued investigating everything that had happened since. Nan Yi returned home. Every time they visited, they looked at me with guilt in their eyes and quietly apologized. I knew exactly what they were uncovering. The incident where I was falsely accused of drugging Liu Ruyan. The truth was obvious. I had neither the means to buy drugs nor any opportunity to get close to her. A little investigation would have exposed Wei Dong immediately, yet back then not. A single member of the Nan family had believed the original Nan Yi. Instead, they locked him in the basement for 3 days and forced him to reflect on his mistakes. When Nan Shooting discovered the truth, she cried in my hospital room, begging me to hit her back for what she'd done. I simply looked at her without saying a word. Locking me in the basement had been Nan Zhu's idea. Now she came to see me every couple of days, looking at me with nothing but guilt and heartbreak, begging me to stay alive so she could spend the rest of her life making up for everything. I remained expressionless. The only thing on my mind was how to die next. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. I had just walked out of the hospital restroom when someone suddenly pressed a cloth over my nose. Within seconds, everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, both my hands and feet were tied. I was lying on the edge of a cliff. Beside me lay Wei Dong, bound the same way, still unconscious. A short distance away, 2 burly men stood beside an SUV, whispering to each other. The wind howled across the cliff. I looked at the drop less than a meter away, then glanced at Wei Dong. After thinking for a moment, I called out to the 2 men, "Who hired you?" They immediately turned toward me with fierce expressions. "Are you stupid?" one of them barked. "We're kidnappers. We heard both of you are young masters of the Nan family. I'm curious how much each of you is worth." I said nothing more. Before long, Wei Dong woke up. The moment he realized where he was, panic spread across his face. "Brother, what do we do?" I silently watched him. A few moments later, the kidnappers each walked over holding a knife. One stood behind me, the other behind Wei Dong, pressing the blades against our throats. Not long after that, a convoy arrived. 4 people got out, the entire Nan family. The instant Mother Nan saw the knife at Wei Dong's neck, she burst into tears. "Ah, Dong, don't be afraid, Mommy's here." Nan Jui looked nervously toward me, unconsciously clenching her fists. Father Nan and Nan Shooting stayed much calmer. Father Nan stepped forward. "We came as you asked. No police. Tell us your price." The kidnapper behind Wei Dong smiled lazily. "Lately, everyone's been arguing online about your family. People keep asking, which matters more? Blood or the child you've raised for 18 years? I'm curious, too. You rich people, which one will you choose?" Nan Shui's face changed. "What do you mean?" The kidnapper grinned. "You only get to save one of them. Decide." "Who lives?" Mother Nan screamed immediately. "Save Wei Dong. Let him go. We'll pay anything. We're taking both." The kidnapper's smile disappeared. Without warning, he slashed the knife across my neck. Warm blood immediately ran down my skin. I didn't even react to the pain. Instead, I calmly noticed something. The knife at Wei Dong's neck was still several inches away from actually touching him. Although he looked tense, he no longer seemed nearly as frightened as when he'd first woken up. I suddenly laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha, you idiots." The kidnapper behind me flew into a rage and raised his knife to stab me, but the other man quickly stopped him. "Calm down." I looked toward Nan Zhuting, who was about to rush forward, and Nan Jui, whose expression had turned icy. Then I smiled. "You're not stupid. You're actors. Someone hired you to put on this little kidnapping show." For a brief moment, everyone fell silent. Then one of the kidnappers laughed awkwardly. "This guy's gone crazy." I smiled directly at the obviously guilty Wei Dong. "What do you think?" Wei Dong's face stiffened for an instant before he forced out a laugh. "Brother, did they scare you so badly that you've lost your mind?" Mother Nan could no longer hold back. "We'll save Wei Dong," she screamed. "The one on the left. Let him go right now." Father Nan grabbed her arm. Instead of speaking, his sharp gaze settled on Wei Dong as if he were thinking about something. The kidnapper grew impatient. "Stop wasting time. Pick one now or they both die." A long silence followed. Finally, Father Nan spoke. "Save Nan Yi." Nan Shooting immediately echoed him. "If we can only save one, then save Nan Yi. We'll pay whatever you want." Nan Shui clenched her fists. "Save Nan Yi." She closed her eyes for a moment before saying quietly, "Wei Dong, don't blame us." "No, matter what. Nan Yi is still our family's flesh and blood." The hatred in Wei Dong's eyes exploded. He immediately cried out, "Mom, save me. I don't want to die." Mother Nan completely lost control. "No, no. Save Wei Dong. He's my son. My only son." Nan Shooting let out a cold laugh. "Mom, I showed you all the evidence before we came here. You didn't believe a single word. The son you're protecting framed my real little brother over and over. He turned him into the villain everyone despised. The proof is right in front of you, yet you still refuse to believe it. Nan Yi is the child you carried for 10 months. He suffered his whole life outside. When he finally came home, you let Wei Dong destroy him. You all drove him to suicide. So if only one person can live, it'll be Nan Yi. As for Wei Dong, he owes Nan Yi this." Wei Dong's expression twisted with pure hatred. Without warning, he lunged forward, snatched the knife from the kidnapper beside him, and pointed it straight at me. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I would have never ended up like this. You've done nothing but evil. No wonder the Nan family hated you. No matter how much Mom protects you, she can't save you forever, I smiled faintly. And even if you survive today, you'll be thrown out of the Nan family. The Liu family only arranged the marriage because they wanted an alliance with the Nans. When that happens, I'll become the Nan family's only young master. Liu Ruyan will become my fiancé again. You see? Nothing that isn't yours can stay yours forever. If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to keep living. Every word pushed him further over the edge. With a furious roar, Wei Dong raised the knife high and plunged it into my arm. Blood immediately poured from the wound. The instant he saw it, the rage vanished from his face. He dropped the knife in horror. I didn't mean to. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, the two fake kidnappers quietly climbed into their SUV, preparing to escape, but before they could leave, police sirens echoed across the mountains. Nan Zhuding sprinted toward me. Ignoring everyone, I picked up the bloodstained knife from the ground. Slowly, I walked backward toward the edge of the cliff. Then, with all my strength, I drove the blade into myself. Looking directly into Nan Zhuding's eyes, I smiled. It was Wei Dong who killed me. He belongs in prison. As soon as I finished speaking, I let myself fall backward and disappeared over the edge of the cliff. Nan Zhuding personally chose my gravestone. Against Father Nan's objections, she insisted I not be buried in the Nan family cemetery, and Nan Zhui agreed. Wei Dong was arrested for attempted murder and personally handed over to the police by Nan Zhuding. Father Nan, unwilling to completely abandon the son he'd raised for 18 years, hired the best lawyers he could, and Wei Dong was ultimately sentenced to 8 years in prison. Even so, Father Nan publicly announced that he was severing all father-son ties with him. Mother Nan couldn't accept the blow. Her mind gradually unraveled, and Father Nan stepped away from the company to take her overseas for treatment. Nan Group was left in Nan Chuer's hands. The two sisters became busier than ever and rarely returned home. Only once a year, on the anniversary of my death, would they silently meet at my grave. Standing before the headstone, they would say nothing, letting their tears fall in silence as regret became the only thing they had left.